Ever wonder when the mighty Mughal Empire, one of history's greatest dynasties, began to crumble? Many point to the end of Aurangzeb's long and controversial reign, but the story of what came next, the story of his son, is where the cracks truly started to show. This is the tale of Bahadur Shah, the emperor who inherited a giant, fragile empire and tried to hold it together with kindness in a time that demanded steel. After the powerful and iron-fisted Aurangzeb died in 1707, the familiar scramble for the throne erupted. His sons battled for control, and emerging victorious was Prince Mu'adh. He ascended the throne and gave himself a title fit for a king, Bahadur Shah, which means brave king, and he would need all the bravery he could muster. The empire he now ruled was vast, stretching across the Indian subcontinent, but it was hollowed out from within. Decades of relentless warfare under his father had emptied the royal treasury and sown seeds of rebellion far and wide. The grand Mughal machine was sputtering. Bahadur Shah was a very different man from his father. Where Aurangzeb was rigid and severe, Bahadur Shah was more conciliatory and gentle. He looked at the fractured relationships with powerful groups like the Rajputs and the Sikhs and thought, maybe peace is a better strategy than war. He reached out, trying to mend the fences his father had broken. He reversed some of Aurangzeb's stricter policies, hoping to win back the loyalty of those who felt alienated by Mughal rule. It was a noble effort, a breath of fresh air after years of austerity. He understood that an empire couldn't be ruled by force alone. It needed the willing cooperation of its people. But good intentions can only go so far when the foundations are already weak. The fires of rebellion, once lit, are incredibly hard to put out. In Punjab, the Sikh movement, under the leadership of Banda Singh Bahadur, had grown into a major military challenge. The Sikhs were organized, motivated, and fighting for their own sovereignty. Bahadur Shah, despite his preference for peace, had no choice but to lead his armies north to confront this uprising. He personally commanded the campaign, showing that he wasn't just a man of peace but also a warrior when needed. The Mughals managed to capture key Sikh strongholds, but the conflict was a brutal, draining affair. It exposed a critical weakness. The Mughal military, once feared across the world, was no longer invincible. The emperor's authority was being openly defied and tested, while Bahadur Shah was busy in the north. Trouble was brewing back in the heart of the empire, in Delhi. The court was becoming a snake pit of political intrigue. Powerful nobles, sensing the emperor's weakening grip, began to form factions and vie for influence. They weren't just advising the emperor anymore. They were starting to control him, making decisions behind the scenes and carving out their own little kingdoms within the empire. The centralized power that had been the hallmark of emperors like Akbar and Shah Jahan was dissolving. The emperor was becoming less of an absolute monarch and more of a figurehead, a pawn in the games of his ambitious courtiers. Bahadur Shah's reign was tragically short, lasting only 5 years. He died in 1712. Leaving behind an empire that was significantly weaker than the one he had inherited. He is often remembered as a kind and well-meaning ruler, perhaps the right man at the wrong time. He tried to steer the colossal ship of the Mughal state away from the rocks, but the damage was already too severe. His reign marks the definitive start of the decline. The period that followed his death was even more chaotic, with a rapid succession of weak emperors, often called the later Mughals, who were puppets in the hands of powerful nobles. The story of Bahadur Shah is a crucial chapter in understanding how one of the world's most formidable empires began its slow, inevitable slide into history. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this slice of history interesting, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about the rise and fall of great empires. See you in the next video.